A very warm welcome to all of you for the 16th edition of Marketing Conclave, organized by IAMAI and powered by Z5. Let's commence the panel discussion on reimagining and redefining customer conversations in a tech-driven world. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the moderator, Mr. Shankar Iyer, Head Customer Success at Infobip. As esteemed panelists, we have Mr. Vipul Parekh, co-founder Big Basket, Mr. Ritesh Ghoshal, Chief Marketing Officer, Infinity Retail, and Mr. Abhijit Shah, Senior Vice President, ICICI Prudential AMC. Welcome, everyone. Over to you, Mr. Iyer.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about customer conversation in a technology-driven world. And let me see how much we can reimagine and redefine it in our today's discussion. To begin with, customer engagement has become more personalized, contextualized, and dynamic in nature. As far as I understand, I see so many customer engagement functions working together with technology organizations to bring control over human experience and bring it back through different kind of marketing tools. I've also seen that of late the focus has shifted from multi-year omni-channel marketing strategies to a easy to implement, quick fix kind of tactics, wherein you can bridge the gap which has been created because we have lost a personal touch with our customers. So imagine a world where we're trying to see, as a brand, how can we know what our customer wants and how can we deliver that that experience, that product to the customer more seamlessly. On that note, I welcome our panelists as they've been already introduced. And I'll jump on to my first question and I will request Vipul to come in. Vipul, we're seeing the change in the customer behavior today and purely because of pandemic. And this has put a lot of stress on the digital capability or of a lot of organizations who are in a B2C environment.
Right.
How have you adopted to this change? What's been your learning and how do you see the road ahead?
This entire pandemic obviously has changed customer behavior and necessarily therefore changed organization behaviors. We have actually changed our entire communication and digital strategy of communication at multiple levels. One of the first things we did was we said, our communication has to become a lot more specific and a lot more personalized. To give you an example, what we meant by specific was the key question everybody had was, how safe is my delivery? Are you guys going to be, socially distant when you're delivering? Is your person going to wear a mask? Is he going to clean his hands? What processes do you follow at your distribution center, at your workplaces to ensure that I do not get infected? So it was very important to communicate this very specifically and give very minute data points to customers. So that was number one. The second was, making it far more personalized. Because in this case, people had different problems. Somebody said, some customer has been logging in multiple times, is not getting slots. So when he logs in the next time or reaches customer service has to respond to him saying that, this is when you will get a slot, or this is how you will get a slot, or this is what we can do to help you. Also taking customer feedback and making it a lot more action oriented. Instead of just telling them, sorry, slots are not available. Please log in every day 9 o'clock in the morning and fight with everybody. You can say you've tried 25 times. I know that. I'm very sorry. But this is a pandemic. And unfortunately, we are trying our best to help you. In your case, we will make an exception and we'll provide you a slot. This is your slot. Go ahead and order it. So giving customer service the latitude to actually create far more specific customer action points also was very important because that sort of resulted in a customer seeing a tangible response. So therefore, making your entire communication far more specific, making it far more, personalized to the customer. The second thing was we said, this is also, we should give customers an option to reach out. So we started telling customers, you can reach us on chat, you can reach us on email, you can reach us on phone. We will send you a link if you're finding it difficult to reach. These are the email IDs of all our customer service, our customer service organization. If you can't reach here, you don't get a response within this time, this is what you can do. So increasingly, providing more means for them to access the organization and making it easier to access.
Yep.
The third thing we did was we increased the intensity of our communication on social media channels, because we realized, for customer to send an email, sometimes they may not see an email. It still takes time to draft an email and send it out. They may not see a push notification. So it's best to put it on Facebook, best to put it on Twitter. So we increased our share of customer service messaging, not just promotion messaging, which is what we do normally. We really moved the entire messaging to customer service messaging going on social media channels. And the fourth thing we did, and which I think is very important, and actually for a B2C organization establishes the last mile connect. And this has nothing to do with communication or digital customer service, but essentially making sure that we walk the talk. So how do you do this? Essentially making sure that our customers, our customer service people, the people who deliver actually essentially follow what we are telling customers. So the person when he reaches there, will in front of a customer take out gloves, wear it, make sure that he sanitizes his hands before he does that. Make sure that he sanitizes the crate before he does that. Opens everything, it keeps it there and walks away, right? So making sure that there is very choreographed action at the last mile, and that the customer sees this again and again. And also training them to tell customers key messages, saying, you must be worried whether this is safe. Don't worry. These are the things we do. Getting the delivery person to repeat this. So just making sure that therefore the messaging comes through multiple points, making sure that the customer is able to talk to even the last mile delivery person. I think this sort of really bridges the divide between getting your communication across effectively.
I got it. Actually, you covered a lot of points here in the pandemic, which would have applied to a lot of other organizations as well in a holistic manner. But the key message I got from that was basically the communication was very strong across the customer, keeping the thing in mind, and that gave a sense of security to the customers, because you were one of the important channels which catered to the mass, right? So I think that's well said. But I believe the today's discussion, and I want to move on to the point, is go more on how we're looking at conversations in the technology world. And I want to turn around to Ritesh, where we'll be looking at we're looking at a pre-COVID and a COVID period, because we're talking conversation in the customer with customers in the technology world. And I just want to know, what are the steps you have taken, especially being in a phygital retail model, right, in your business, and how have you managed to keep that customer connect using different digital platforms?
So you are right. We have been sort of journeying into a phygital world now for the last 5 odd years. Even before COVID, the established consumer behavior, the shopper behavior, was around half the people would first go on Croma.com and then they would come to the store. In the time of COVID, that number has shot up over well over 70%. And that apart, a lot of people are actually going on Google Maps, etc., to figure out if the store is open. Therefore, two things we have done which are different from what we were doing pre-COVID. One is, there is a daily refresh on which store is open and which store is not. All our stores have a Google My Business page to start with, to keep it updated at any point in time, so that a guy who's stepping out of his home with the message that the store is open, actually finding the store shut, it's something which he'll hold against us. So putting a process in place to keep it updated, one. Second is, on our site as well. See, while we are a fully functional e-commerce site, you can buy stuff on Croma.com. Given the ticket sizes and given the importance of touch and feel for the tactile part of the purchase journey, people always prefer to check it out physically. While the proportions have shifted a little more towards, I'll buy without looking at it. Even now, one of the primary reasons people try calling Croma on or people visit Croma.com, so call center volumes as well as Croma.com visits, the number one reason is to see which store can I go to pick this up or check this out. So how do we, upfront that became a challenge, and we created this, tile and a calendar, this thing right on the homepage. With two functionalities. One is a connect to store functionality where you request a call back, So, store staff calls you back against the time slot you have chosen. And the second one was to, book an appointment. So you turn up at the store because you're only allowed, 25, 30 people at one shot. You book your appointment and your, place is reserved in the queue, so to speak. So these are the two things which we did on Croma.com. Going forward, the challenge we are working on currently is how do we start being able to give the person a virtual tour of the product he's looking at. So rather than just talking to the staff, can the staff also be enabled to show the customer the product, give a 360 view of the product, dimensions, depth, etc., so that more people can be served, more people's curiosity in terms of what the device can or cannot do can be served before coming to the store, if he still chooses to come to the store.
Yeah. So that probably reduces the amount of time spent by the shopper in the store, by which giving you more feasibility to entertain more customers on the store. And I think that's a great idea. I just want to pick that word from the conversation you mentioned about call center, and I think that was one of the buzzword in terms of customer conversations, remote conversations, if I have to use that word. And that brings to my next question, where Abhijit, have you started seeing the transition of customer conversation from a traditional method of, where it was voice and email, to a now more, technology savvy platforms which are more digital, like for example a chat app or a live chat, or social media? And I would request specifically, not from a COVID standpoint only, but an overall perspective. What's your take?
Yeah, so I think overall on the financial services side, and especially on the mutual funds, you got to understand that it is an intangible product, and it's about investing your money and looking at how your money is performing, etc., from a visualization point of view. And at any point in time you want to redeem your money, it goes into a bank account. So essentially, it is money coming from a bank account to an asset manager, and the way the money is managed, and then back into your account as and when, if and when you need it. Very heartening, and you see the way pre-COVID as well, like Ritesh was mentioning, that people used to use digital in their journey of discovery, journey of conversation, and then move on to the store. Or I mean, Big Basket has shown us that you can do everything at a tap of a button and get your groceries delivered. So financial products, in that sense, in a consumer journey, because you don't really have a look and feel of the product, had a higher curve of adoption any which ways.
Okay.
During COVID times, especially, customers were quite understanding in terms of what the situation is, and they believe that it is not it is not important for them to really go to the branches, as well as they were sensitive enough to communicate to us saying, we don't really need your branch staff, or need your call center. And that's where the whole adoption of the chat app, adoption of self-select channels, adoption of non-face-to-face channels came in. While we opened our branches, and in a limited manner, depending upon the law of the land, we still see that the curve in terms of customers communicating to us on digital, through chat apps, through online tools, is holding on. And customers have definitely look at it from a point of view that the conversation that you can have and kind of get what you want is specific. But if you're interacting and looking at your portfolio, and if there are tools that can really enable you to maneuver and figure it out at a customer level in a customized manner,
Right.
then the interactivity itself brings out the
Absolutely.
engagement.
So I'm sorry to interrupt because I'm adding on to another question on top of that, and you did touch upon some key points. But what I understand is there is a transition. Probably the curve is not it's so linear in nature, but obviously
Yeah.
it started looking up. But then look at another observation here, which is more like we still see a huge number of skilled human resources are deployed to manage this platform, and I'm sure Ritesh, people both are seeing those numbers within their organizations as well. Might be outsourced, in-source, whatever be the reason, but the point I'm trying to make is you have a huge human resource deployment still to manage these kind of digital platforms. Why is it so? Is it because the capability of the technology to be automated, is it something which is lacking? Or you saying affordability of resources from a business standpoint makes more sense? Or you just look at our country and say the maturity or the adoption of such technology is still not there. Yeah, quick answer on that, Vijay.
Yeah, so I think it's changing for sure, Shankar. I think it's not that everywhere. So let's just take an example of web chat, right? I mean, web chat evolved into a chat bot, right? And a chat bot is now evolving into voice based
Right.
communication or voice based interaction.
Virtual assistants, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that evolution is very sharp, and technology, and if the right technology deployed with the right impetus, I think it really gets off the human intervention.
Understand.
At the same time, one has to also recognize the role of an advisor. I mean, I'm talking in terms of my business, and it's also across businesses. If I walk into Chroma, and I mean, it's not going to be that I walk into Chroma and I just talk to a robo and figure it out. You need that human, human perspective, or some kind of iteration, or some kind of dialogue that that makes your journey in terms of decision making easier, right? Because
Right.
end of the day, you can't you we are not machines, and we are not definitely be guided.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
So that's an advantage that we have, but a right balance and a right mix
I think,
that really optimizes customer experience is what my belief has always been.
absolutely. I think that's where the phygital model, I mean, I'm not trying to relate that only with the consumer durable here, because obviously I believe even financial products have that kind of a mix where you need a little bit of physical touch. And I think even Vipul pointed out that, while it was all about digital, at the end of the day, the last mile had a lot of physical communication, which made a lot of sense, especially in the current scenario. And that brings back to the point, and you mentioned, I mean, all of you been giving me clues to go ahead when chatbot, right? So people, what we understand is, one of the strategies you used in your communication was that you wanted to reduce the interactive voice response systems, instead bring in more AI and the high-end technologies, which was one of them was chatbots, and the purpose was probably quicker responses and acknowledgement to customer queries. The question is that if you look at it, like as Abhi was mentioning, users know these kind of platforms now. At least we talk about the smartphone penetration and all that reasons because of which they understand that these are platforms where you can interact. But how far chatbots, and specifically chatbots because of we're talking about customer conversations, are matured enough to understand human emotions and wants and intents? What's your experience? Because you've been in that space a little more now, right?
So it's an evolving phase, but let me give you maybe a broader perspective and then narrow in on that specific point. So if I were to dial back, let's say about 4 or 5 years back, we were, in terms of resources, in terms of effort to handle customer queries, 100% was human, 0% was bot. Today, I think it's about 70-30. 70% is human and 30% is bot. But I think over the next 24 months, it'll probably be the other way around completely, which is 30% human and 70% bot. And I think the reason that's happening is because of really using AI and ML to drive some of this. So let me give you a couple of quick examples to see how we handle this. So let's take a voice response system. For example, we offer voice customer service today, and a customer calls us. Now, if it's an existing customer who calls us, the system knows now that when existing customers call, and depending on their segment, what are the top 3 queries that they have. So for example, if I take long-term customers who have been with us, let's say for more than 6 months, the typical query when they call customer service is saying, where is my delivery? And number one will be, my delivery's got delayed, or I've not received my delivery. Where's my delivery? So when the customer phone comes in and the system recognizes there's a customer calling, it actually throws up delivery information, also projected delivery status and delays or anything right in on the customer screen, on the agent screen. So now the agent, the moment the customer calls, the agent in most times will say, I'm sorry, your delivery has been delayed. This is when it's been got rescheduled. This is when it's coming. Now, so the idea behind using bots is really, and this is a bot working in the background, is really to make the customer service response far better. The goal is not to reduce cost, but that's a secondary goal. But the primary goal is to make sure that your response is a new customer calling, and a new customer who's never bought from us. And the first question is, and where they come from, which city they come from. For example, if they're coming from Bombay, they will ask, how can I return my products? And before they even place an order, right? So they want to understand. So therefore, the return policy is already there in front of the customer screen. Now, the same thing translates to chatbot. So we're doing the same thing, except that the interface there to the customer is a bot, and therefore the customer will say, coming into new customer Bombay will say, how do I return my products? And that would have actually been sitting there on top of it, and the guy will just flash it there. Yeah. So we find that about 70-80% of our queries on the chatbot, we can order through, we can reply through the virtual agent. We don't require a human response. But we also have a human response as a fail-safe. Yeah. So when it goes through 2-3 interactions, the bot will signal that, this query is now gone, but I'm not able to handle it, and will escalate it. And a human will seamlessly join that conversation. Got it. So therefore, it's a mingling of both to make sure that you get better productivity and much higher levels of customer service.
Should I say the intent, the effort is based on some kind of an algorithm, some kind of behavior? Obviously, it's gone in to see that. But as you said, the next 24 months probably will give us more learning in terms of saying how the product as a chatbot can be more matured to handle 70% of the load, right?
Yeah, so what's happened is we have years of data now, 8-10 years of data. So we are mining the data, putting all the queries together, figuring out which, and looking at all the queries that have got asked to us, let's say in the last 1 year, figuring out if the bot had handled it, what percentage of accuracy would we have got, and making sure that until we hit 70-80% accuracy, do not deploy it, because you don't want to upset customers. So that's where we're in the last phases of really getting into mass deployment of using tech to power the front end of customer service.
Got it. Yeah. So now my next question is, how is, let's say, if I just move on to Ritesh and ask you this, how are you looking at a holistic communication life cycle today, where you have multiple channels of communication, as you mentioned initially as well, that there are people who visit Croma, then visit the store, and then you have an appointment system and stuff like that. So which is like you're trying to build multiple channels, touch points for customers to come to you using Google and other platforms. And then you have your entire plethora of marketing tactics which you need to put in place to ensure that the customer experience remains at the top. What's your take on that? How are you trying to build this entire story?
The way we approach it, and to be honest, the lockdown period has shown there are a lot of things wrong in what we are doing. For instance, call center is a big part of how people reach out to us. And there are 3 parts to a person's journey. One is pre-sale, when he's prospecting. So it could be searching for a product, inquiries about features, etc., or inquiries about deals, etc. Then there is, after sale, but the delivery and installation piece, where it's like, when is the product coming? When will the installation happen? And then there are the service. So that's really the cycle a person has with us. the dependence on the call center has come to the fore as a challenge because one, people are on edge because of the pandemic, and because of the pandemic again, you are short staffed in the store, in the DC. There are unplanned shutdowns, and you are short staffed in the call center as well because of social distancing norms. So the entire thing, sort of, becomes a huge challenge to manage, and a hell of a lot of customer escalations, especially in the area of delivery and installation, is something
Right.
we have faced. Uh, and therefore, we have to reevaluate our entire strategy in terms of bots on the handling this part of it. Uh, the most significant part, which is the pre-sale part, there, currently, while we enjoy a very high repeat business, the path to the store for the repeat customer is not very different from the new customer. Okay.
Mhm.
And the opportunity there is to get into a life cycle management process, essentially a loyalty program. So we have been running a loyalty program, what we call the Chroma privileges, for the last 3 odd years now. We have got sharper and sharper at it, and it is helping. But I think the primary uh, medium of communication continues to be push in that, which is SMSs and emailers. The opportunity exists in creating a pull mechanism where a customer, when he's maturing into a shopper for a particular category we deal in, has the opportunity to start a conversation and say,
Absolutely.
you know what, I'm looking at buying a refrigerator now. So creating that channel of communication is really the holy grail for us, and that's something we're working on over the next 12
Sure.
months.
Okay. I think for personally for me, I think in a consumer durable on a retail model, if I have to specifically look at that vertical as well, the post sales is a very interesting space, which on a digital, because it's been so physical in that nature. If you look at history, and that's changing into in a lot of new ways of doing the post sales activity, especially with video coming in play as a bigger channel of communication. And I think that is one of the key requirement in a post sales activity, especially when you look at video as one of the channels. So I think I understand, that's the point which you mentioned. Now I just want to turn it around to, I mean, well, we spoke about, I think last 20 minutes, I just got a ping also on the time where we spoke about enablement of the technology. And I just want to look at the other side of the coin now. And Abhijit, uh, looking at the flip side, social media has reduced the distance between the seller, the owner, and the buyer or the broker. Just to refer to financial vertical specifically, coming to that point, it has reduced that distance. But have you able to manage the customer expectation, because you're so exposed now through a social media platform? How are you able to manage a customer expectation, especially in your vertical, which is more controlled and regulated?
No, I think that's a very pertinent question, Shankar. The whole idea, like you rightly mentioned, it's like, if a customer is not going to get his units credited, the preferred mode of escalation today is Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah.
And that's where the whole conversation, string of conversation starts. But the way to look at it is that it also democratizes the entire experience,
Mhm.
in a way that the manufacturer and the user is on an even platform. And that's where it helps us to be on our toes all the time, to constantly improve processes. Gone are the days that you put out a process and then review it end of the quarter, and then you kind of optimize it. It is optimization on the go,
Right.
right? So it's more like Formula One today, in
Absolutely.
terms of you can't have one strategy. I mean,
Right.
you need to have a split second change in strategy, in terms of adapting on the go. So that's
Right.
one part. Another part you mentioned, in terms of reducing the gap between various constituents in the ecosystem. Matter of fact, what's happened is the quality of advice, or the quality of financial advice, has taken prominence more than ever, because the kind of choices customers have today on products, in terms of looking at various platforms, the kind of listening. I mean, while as brands we also we do social listening, but more than us, customers are the ones who do social listening, because customers are the ones who are always looking at various Facebook pages, interacting
Absolutely.
on Twitter, having chats with on various WhatsApp groups, etc. So the kind of
Great.
choices that customers have is also is also varied. That really brings out the quality of advice. And you mentioned brokers, so the kind of brokers that impart that kind of advice, that handhold customers in their journey, that give them the real picture in terms of what's going to happen with your investments, how do you approach them,
Great.
the kind of risk adjusted returns, etc. So
I understand.
that's also coming to fore. So it's
I
all
understand.
coming together. I think from our perspective, uh, there is a lot to do, to your point, in terms of the gap being reduced. But from a delivery channel perspective, it's a large amount of learning curve that's coming in,
Coming
and
in. Yeah,
you'll see a lot of stuff happening
I
around
understand.
this person.
So as you rightly mentioned, there's a lot of customers. I mean, people in general, because they're so social media savvy, and that's the reason, it. As you said, the social listings. That's a very interesting point which happens, and that's where I believe the next question to you was about how do you see the lines getting blurred now? Because it's, as you rightly said, a strategy implemented cannot be. You cannot wait for a time period to assess, but it's about a strategy of communicating to customer. And as I mentioned, because you have social listings and so many, so it's the customer journey and the behavior analytics. So the question I'm trying to say is, there's one side where you're trying to monitor behaviors, as Vipul mentioned, and then I'm building the technology, and the other is to choose what communication channels which would you
Yeah.
prefer to reach out to, because again, it's such a complex social media platform. It's not about only one, kind of Google, or only one thing, WhatsApp. It's so many, in that space. Do you see that, you need to have the lines are getting blurred there now in terms of analyzing behaviors and communicating?
No, absolutely. Look at it from a customer point of view. A customer reaching out to a brand and saying, "This is my query. How do you help me?" And that's the customer journey. In that
Right.
episode, more than often, the front line, be it a bot or be it a human, or more than often, on a lot of queries, you would get an answer saying, "Let me get back to you," or "Let me come back to you, let me look at it," right? But today,
Right.
the way the customer is pampered on the digital side, especially due to e-commerce or various other models, that doesn't exist. So it is about empowering the front line. It is about giving some tools to the front line, saying that, "Hey, look, I mean, if a customer and more than enough, there's enough data in terms of query volume, query type, or customer conversation type." So
Right.
if the front line's empowered, or be it a screen or a human,
Mhm.
that really takes care of it. And that really comes back to the point that there is nothing called as customer journey. Evaluate that, analyze that, and then implement your strategy. I mean,
Right.
at every level of the funnel, there has to be a base level strategy, and some kind of logic or algo that
Understand.
that really helps the customer then and there, because it is about it is more important than any time about getting it first time right. you know uh,
Understand.
it is not an academic
But I
verbiage
think
anymore.
I think the first time right is a too early comment for us to in this journey, because we want, I think probably if we would have imagined a world without COVID, I think the answers would have been very different today, right? People would have probably you would have looked at something which is 2 years ahead and would have liked to discuss on that and see what's coming around. I think something like Ritesh, and you want to change the model now because you're looking at so much of physical absence in the business, right? So I believe that has changed a little. But coming back, I have two more questions quickly, and I'm dividing between Vipul and Ritesh for 3 minutes each. So coming to Vipul first. Now, Vipul, the pertinent question is: do you see the ecosystem for a customer engagement hub? So we are in our own industries, but you want the ecosystem to come together, right, to finally deliver that experience. So the question is, do you have that ecosystem of the customer engagement hub? When I say hub, means do you have the marketing knowledge and know-hows? Do you have the customer experience analytics, behavior analytics along with it? Do you have all the integrated channels which you need to deliver and fire at the right time? Is that available today in our ecosystem?
Yeah, it is definitely available, number one. And I think more importantly, it's an imperative for organizations if they really want to flourish in this current environment and going forward. Because without this, I think most companies will struggle. Any B2C business is really going to struggle. And I think the challenges to this are, however, twofold. One is obviously putting all the pieces of technology together, which is required. It's not one single piece of technology which can integrate all of this. For example, we use AWS, Redshift, and Data Lake to make sure that all our data is available for querying. We use Power BI from Microsoft to query it. We use Snowflow to actually record all customer events and customer journeys. So, and you use a CRM software to handle customer service. And now all of these have to work together. Your databases structures, therefore, your implementation, the UX, the access controls, the ability to access and user empowerment, all of it become critical. But the point today is that all the different elements exist. All the technology required to connect them and to access them exists. The issue is it's a far more fundamental problem because organizations need to change structurally to be able to leverage this. Because if you think of marketing and customer service, these are all silos in most cases, right? And therefore, it's very difficult to get these disparate functions to work together. And I think the only way this can happen is by defining common goals and common purposes, or maybe defining functions which sort of are derivatives of this function. So, for example, the way we have gone about doing this, because we recognize this challenge even in our company some years back, is that today we have a single function which integrates marketing communication, analytics, category marketing, and elements of customer service and growth marketing and product. And all these come together in the one single function under one single person. And you have people from each of these functions working in this team. This is your customer-facing team. So therefore, this offers a seamless experiment across all channels. And the product, the analytics team looks at customer data, tells you what to do. The analytics team presents that data. The product team implements changes. The customer service team gives you feedback on what happens.
I get your point there. Vipul, but I'll have to stop it there at that point. But I understand what you're saying is internal orchestration of these entire activities together as one team makes a lot of sense. I want to put this question to Ritesh Ling, saying on the external world. Today, when you see that, ultimately our goal is to achieve customer delight. But technology has helped us to an extent where transparency, trust, reliability has brought in, But on the other side, you are also exposed to a lot of negative publicity, the trolling, which Abhijit highlighted, and most importantly, communalizing personal experiences. That's the bigger challenge. How do you weigh this, going forward as a social media platform, but very exposed to businesses and people outside?
See, I think the only way to balance the trolling that happens is also get people who have had good personal experiences to proselytize on your behalf. And that's the strategy we have been following. Like I said, the pandemic has been a very peculiar situation. People are either delighted, if they are served, they are delighted. If something goes wrong, then they just go off the.
We have 20 seconds. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling on the time.
So, like I'm saying, the only strategy that works is for every negative story. How do you ensure there are 10 positive stories?
There's a 10 positive stories.
And that's what we are working on.
Absolutely, I think that's the answer I was looking at, saying that there are flip sides, but I think it's positive strategy what we are looking at for customer conversation in the technology world. I think it's time for me, gentlemen, but I believe it was very insightful, and I could really rack your brains around my questions. But thank you so much for your time, and appreciate. Back to the host, please.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, dear panelists, for joining us today and sharing some valuable insights. I would also like to thank our valued partners, ZEE5, Infobip, Financial Express Brandwagon, Flipkart, and Jaguar New Media. We'll now take a short 10-minute break. Please visit the exhibit hall and check out the booths on display. Thank you.